Let's begin with a prayer. And this is a prayer of Paramhansa Yogananda ji. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great masters of Kriya Yoga, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Sri Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar ji, Paramhansa Yogananda ji, saints of all religions, beloved friend and guide, Swami Kriyananda ji, we humbly bow at thy feet and express our deep gratitude for the teachings of yoga, for the teachings of light. Awaken in our hearts, awaken in our souls thy blazing light. Ignite our darkness and tear aside the veil of silence. We are your children. Come to us through every breath. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So last time we shared inspirationally on the topic of channeling the divine light. And I thought this time will be a good opportunity to share specific techniques on how to channel the divine light. And I want to start with, so there are many techniques, but I want to focus on a few of them tonight because we have limited time. But each of these are very powerful techniques. We know them, but the important thing on the spiritual path is that as we every day, in fact, Master said every day you want to be able to love God more than you did yesterday. And that same ambition goes for everything in our daily life. Every thought, every action, we want to strive to the best of our ability to do better than we did before, to not only just the previous day, maybe even before this last breath which just went by. So that's the ardent longing of a true devotee, of a pure soul who longs for the light. And Yogananda ji has given us many techniques on how to be channels for the light. I want to share a couple of techniques. And in each of these techniques, in fact, in all of the techniques that Yogananda ji shares, there are some fundamental components, elements that he emphasizes on. And they use the power of will, they use the power of visualization, and they use the power, of course, above all, of divine will in our lives, in any circumstance that we are trying to heal, in any situation where we are trying to uplift our consciousness and those of others. Now, Yogananda ji makes a very important point. He said, when we visualize, when we apply our willpower, he said we inject a vital force into our muscles and body parts. Isn't that fascinating? Now, I knew about visualization, but this was something I suddenly discovered today. This is a gem of understanding. And so this is what I mean, every time our consciousness at different points in time is in different spaces of understanding and maturity. And so to be able to look at the same teachings often, maybe it is the same line, circumstances are neutral, to be able to bring an open heart and an open mind with the joyful expectancy that the guru or the masters or the divine light may reveal some mystery and tear aside that veil of silence and speak in a new, unique way to each one of us. That's the absolute beautiful adventure of the spiritual path. So keep this in mind. He said, whenever we use willpower, and willpower means willingness, means an open heart, a joyful expectancy of faith and trust in the divine power, in divine love, in divine light, to bring an open heart to our longings for what? Now, we have, of course, our human will, which tries to be a channel for the divine will, but more often than not ends up being in the way of the divine will. And that is what also these techniques and practices help us to overcome, or to streamline, or to purify our human will so that it can be a channel for divine will. So in the use of our willingness, in the use of our visualization, an important aspect of the process is to transmute our human desires, our human will, so that it becomes one with the divine will. It doesn't matter as we begin our journey, wherever we are on our journey, we may be imperfect, it does not matter. What is important is a sincere longing of the heart and of the soul to be a good channel. God takes care of the rest. Okay. So with that, I want to start with this very powerful practice that Yogananda ji has given us on divine will healing and how to do it. I'll quickly explain the process, and we can spend a few, since it's a short session, we'll spend a few seconds just quickly trying to practice it together, so you can take it into your healing practices as well at home. So in this, we bring our attention to the spiritual eye. Now, this is a very important part of our body. And that one of the teachings of the scripture says that if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. That is the power of this point, and which is why Yogananda ji said, if we can place our attention here through the day, you can even become a master in this life. So first, bringing our attention to this point, what it also does is draws our energy up magnetically to focus at this point, to concentrate at this point. And then there are simple little techniques that Yogananda ji gives us. He said, first touch this point with your finger. Why? To become aware. So awareness is a very important step when we are trying to heal something in ourselves or in others. So become aware of this point, touch this point, stay with that feeling for some time. And then he said, pinch this point. And he said, tune into the feeling. To tune into that sensation of touch, just to become more and more aware and deeply engrossed at this point. And then he says, project your will and try to see the light at this point. Now, what does that mean when you say project your will? What is will? Yogananda ji said, desire plus energy directed towards fulfillment. Our fulfillment here is we want to see the divine light. Our desire too is wanting to see the divine light. What is the energy aspect? Harnessing our concentration, harnessing all the energy within us to just bring it to this point with the desire. I want to see the spiritual eye. I want to see the spiritual light. Why? Not for any selfish reasons. And this is another interesting point that Yogananda ji makes about visualization. He said, visualization has the power to awaken smriti. And smriti is that remembrance of that native state of who we are, that we are the light. So when we visualize the light, even if you're seeing darkness at this point, visualize the light at the point that behind the darkness is the light of the soul, shining always. Use your energy, the concentrated power of your energy, your open heart, willingness, your love to draw that light at this point. And then he says, when you see that light, he says, now bridge your human will with the divine will. Now, what does that mean? You know, our human will is constrained by fears, anxieties, worries, likes, dislikes, whatever we may be experiencing, very consciously, intentionally surrender it to God. You know, I'm reading the Mahabharata, version of the Mahabharata, which is a beautiful book. And in that, I'm reading this point where Krishna tells Arjuna towards the end of his life that I will call you when I need you. And Arjuna, of course, because of the many omens, and he just has this feeling that there's something happening, and maybe Krishna needs me, I need to go. And then he gets a clear feeling that no, Krishna does not want me to come now. Finally, he is called after Krishna leaves his body, and Arjuna feels so desolate. The one love, power in his life that he was completely in love with, in harmony with, who was one as part of himself, he had left the body, and now he felt completely alone. And he said, even as he was grieving, even as he was inwardly struggling, fighting against, resisting the events that were unfolding. Why did Krishna leave before me? Why did he not call me before he left his body? He said, even as he was battling these thoughts, he said, a clear inner whisper of Krishna was coming. Surrender, surrender, surrender. It is all as it should be. It is all as it must be. And again, he is given those lessons of acceptance and surrender, because it is all in God's will. So when we are also going through difficult situations in our life, to be able to even remind ourselves, that takes awareness, to be able to even step back and remind ourselves, acceptance, especially things that we cannot change, to its more higher octave. We can always change things to a lower octave. That is more easy and comes naturally. But when we are unable to change things to a higher octave, the best step in that moment is to accept and to surrender with full faith in the masters that you know what is happening. Give me the strength, the patience, and the endurance to go through it and overcome it, because that is the only way of overcoming, by going through it. You cannot run around it, you cannot high jump it. You just have to go through whatever circumstances we are faced with. So the ability to surrender. And so whatever experience of fear or inner resistance we may be experiencing, intentionally, as you inhale, bring it up to this point, offer it at that point, surrender it, accept it, and as you exhale, draw the blessings, the grace. Now visualization plays a very important part here. Visualize as though the light of God is blessing you in that surrender, in that acceptance. That's a step. And then he says, again, using the power of visualization, visualize that your will. Now, you see, your will is bridged with the divine will. So it is one that is seeking God's will. So now we may ask, but I don't know what is God's will. How do I, channel his will? Keep it simple. Visualize his will as the light. Very simple. Visualize his will as the light. Now, visualize that divine will as your human will. That is the beauty of God. They come disguised as, common, men and women in this world, to show what it is to be truly human. To be truly human is to be truly divine. So just visualize that will of God entering into the spiritual eye of the person you want to heal. And he says, see that light, see that will going down, filling the brain, going down the spine to that particular part of the body that needs healing, or to the whole body, if you just want to send general healing to the whole body. And then he said, remind yourself, God is a healer. And he said, don't doubt. There is no need even to see what happened. Hey, did something happen? I was praying for you. He said, no. He said, believe, cure, and forget. God is a healer. So this is very important, because if we are not trusting that God is a healer, we come in the way of that light. So this is a very powerful way of channeling the light. So let's just sit up straight very quickly. And at home, you would meditate to be able to calm your heart, to calm your mind. Let's quickly, just sitting upright, lifting our spine, lifting our gaze behind closed eyes at the point between the eyebrows. Take a brief moment to bring your finger to this point between the eyebrows. Feel that point of the spiritual eye, the point where the light of the soul, where the light of God is always shining and feeding us, nurturing us. Now pinching that point slightly, feeling that sensation of touch. You may even see a faint light. Now bringing your hands down, project your will to see the light. Visualize the light shining at that point. And now any fears, any limiting thoughts, feelings that you may have, offer it into that light and invite God's light to fill your temple. Invite God's light to be your aspiration, your goal. And now you may visualize anyone who is in need of healing. Visualize this light in the form of the divine will entering that person's spiritual eye, filling the person's brain, filling the spine, the whole body. And if there is any particular part of the body that needs more energy, visualize the light around that part of the body. Feeling God's illuminating light, His presence in every part of the body, or in that special part of the body that needs healing. Mentally reminding yourself, God is a healer. You are healed in His light. You are healed in His love. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So this is a technique which I would invite all of us to take deeper in the comfort of our homes and time when we have it. The other powerful technique, of course, I want to mention is prayer, and I won't go deep into it. Prayer isn't a topic entirely, that needs a session of its own. But I just want to say one thing, and I want to share this particular story that is a very beautiful story of a soul who had a near-death experience in a car accident, and his car was completely crashed, and his soul was, taken out of the body, and he was hovering above his body, and he saw the total destruction quite a few miles ahead. And but he was and he didn't want to come back to the body because the body was badly mangled. And but he was drawn to a light that was coming from a car that was not affected by the crash, and so his soul is drawn to that light, and he sees that it is a lady who is praying in the car for the destruction that she saw ahead of her. And that light that came from that car, from that lady's prayer, comforted him, soothed his soul. And the soul rises and he goes to the astral realms, where of course where he's met by an angelic being who tells him that it is not yet his time to be back, that he needs to go back to the earth and tell people about the power of prayer. And so he comes back into his body and he shares his story. But this is the power of prayer, friends. And we don't need to have any sophisticated language, any great knowledge in order to be able to pray to God. Keep prayer is a language. I won't say so much of the heart, but it is a language of the soul. And keep it as a language of the soul, because our heart is a heart of desires. If you make it a language of the heart, all your desires will find very creative ways of expressing itself to the divine. So make it a language of the soul. It is the soul's communion with God. Again, meditate, convince yourself that God knows better than us. And truly, friends, we think we know everything, but God knows better than us. So you have to sometimes trick the mind that thinks that, I'm in control of this life, I'm in charge of this life, I know everything, I know what I need. So sometimes you need to trick the mind, and it's a repetition, affirmation, the power of words, the power of visualizing that God has seen me through not only this life, but incarnations that I'm not even aware of yet. So he knows, and to be able to surrender. And in your soul, just offering yourself humbly with deep humility at his feet and asking him, take charge of my life. As Master said, no one dwells in this temple now but God. And Yogananda ji would not bring the teachings any down. He said, strive for inner self-realization. That is the best way to channel the light. Very high teaching, but one step at a time, and we get there, friends. So don't be disheartened. Don't think, oh, this is too big a task for me. No, every day 12 minutes of meditation is changing our consciousness, and not only our consciousness, but the consciousness of people and the world around us in very silent ways. Even if we can't believe that ourselves right now, remind yourselves, no, I don't know how, but it is happening, because we are a part of the whole. And the third, very quickly, I want to mention is there is this simple practice of chanting Om. Whenever you feel pain in any part of the body, mentally visualize. Now, all of us at some point would have felt a tingling sensation in some part of the body when we feel energy, especially if when we rub our palms together, we feel a warm sensation or a tingling sensation. And Yogananda ji would say, visualize that like an electric current, there is this warm tingling sensation flowing through that part of your body that needs healing. Visualize that part filled with light, mentally chant Om. I remember doing this when sometimes I would have, stomach pain, a simple stomach pain, sitting in the office, and I would just simply chant Om, Om, Om. In about, depending on how chronic the illness is, of course, it varies, but this would be a simple pain, and in 5 minutes it would be gone. The power of Om is the power of God's vibration in creation and in each one of us. So just closing your eyes, concentrating, gathering all the energy in your body, just mentally chant that Om is the condensation of God's power inside you. And with concentrated energy, offer it at that point in your body that needs healing. This is also a very powerful way to heal. One last point that I will make, and then we'll close with a prayer of Master. All of us are given unique talents to express, and through which we will be channels of light in this world. Beethoven, Mozart, blazed this world with their divine music. And even today, people are healed often listening to their music, whether it is art, whether it is cooking a great meal, whether it is, being whatever vocation or profession we are, we need to be able to use the power of our breath, the power of our words, the power of our look, the power of the voice to be able to channel that light. For the light is in everything. It's not only in these specific techniques I spoke about. In every breath, that light flows. Hong Saw, I'm spirit. But we need to use that breath then to channel also outwardly to manifest in divine ways. And that's the prayer of Master that he says here so beautifully. Let's close our eyes, sitting up straight. Let's listen, and inwardly, maybe we can repeat. The ethereal power of God flows through me, through my speech, my brain, my cells, every wisp of my consciousness. Every thought is a channel through which His divine light is passing. Open your hearts and realize that the divine light is also passing through you. As I perceive, may you perceive. As I behold, may you behold. And in our own unique ways, may we all be channels of light in this world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I'm sorry.